Hello everybody. Thanks again for visiting my YouTube channel. Here we discuss the Lord's Recovery Movement, also known as the local church movement of Witness Lee. I want to get back to shepherdingwords.com and touch on a couple of points there. I wanted to talk about the sections that talk about accusations of racism and accusations of misogyny or sexism against women. First off, I want to touch on the sexism issue. I want to say that I really don't feel qualified to comment too much on it. I don't have enough information. It would be unfair of me to accuse the Lord's Recovery of this thing. This is something that women would know a lot more about than me, especially since I've been out of the movement for so long. I would like to say that while I was in the Lord's Recovery, I did see an honoring of sisters as sisters, treasuring of sisters as sisters, and love of sisters as sisters. I did see that. But I also saw a culture that basically looked at sisters as sort of second class citizens in the sense of they couldn't teach, they couldn't really lead, their opinions were less valued, and that sort of thing. I didn't see it as a vicious bias. I just saw it as a culture that was based on some interpretations of the Bible, which are not that uncommon. But I did see an incident where a sister named Jane Anderson was targeted as rebellious and as the instigator of a sister's rebellion. My question about that is why call it a sister's rebellion? If it had been a brother, if her husband had been the one behind it, would they have called it a brother's rebellion? But for some reason it was categorized as a sister's rebellion, as if the rebellion, if there was one, was somehow worse because of that. First place, it wasn't a rebellion. Questioning leadership is not rebellion. We're getting back into the whole spiritual authority abuse of the local church. But I did see that. And so there was a kind of an attitude of the sisters are at the bottom of the pecking order kind of thing. As far as a kind of a dishonoring of them, I really don't feel like that was fair at the time. Now, how things have changed, I don't know. But if anybody wants to comment in the comments section of this message, tell me your story, and I would like to get back to this if I see it might be necessary. So let me know, and we'll go forward with that. I also want to touch on the idea of racism. I do feel like that it's unfair to accuse the Lord's Recovery of racism because of the whole Noah and Ham story about the curse of Ham. Noah cursed his son Ham, who then went, the Bible says, in the direction of Africa, and so therefore all the Africans were the descendants of Ham. Well, there's several things wrong with this. This is a very ignorant interpretation, but I don't see it as racism. I just see it as an unfortunate consequence of a dumb interpretation of the Bible. I did not see any evidence of racism in the local church. As a matter of fact, I thought that there was a lot of equality in attitude in the church in Anaheim, one of the top churches during the 70s and 80s. There was a elder named Godfred Otute who was from Africa, and he was black. And so I didn't really see this, so I don't think it's fair. At the same time, we get back to the Noah story. Basically, the story is Noah cursed Ham, and Ham went to Africa, and part of the curse was all the oppression that Africans have faced ever since. Well, in the first place, we don't really know for sure whether all the Africans descended from Ham or not. It's just a real stretch, this interpretation. And the whole interpretation of Noah, as I talked about in episode 3, when I talked about the abuse of spiritual authority, was really a bad interpretation. Witness Lee's interpretation was that Ham and Canaan, who exposed his nakedness when he got drunk, were cursed by Noah, and God backed up the holy deputy authorities cursing and carried it out. My interpretation of that is that Noah was way out of line and abused his authority, and the negative results that came from that, specifically the nation of Canaan, which became an enemy of Israel, was the result of that cursing. Noah cursed Canaan, and Canaan left God and became an opposer to God's people. And that was due to Noah's cursing. And to me, it shows why you don't shoot your mouth off and curse people and call them names and abuse your authority. The whole interpretation that the legacy of Africans is the result of the curse of Ham is kind of insensitive. It's ignorant to begin with. And I would say that. But racist, I don't believe it's racist. That's my opinion. If you have another opinion, you're free to comment. And if you have any evidence of racism in the Lord's recovery, I'd like to hear about it. So that's what I have to say about that in this episode. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care.